it really took God doing a work within me, because I would internalize everything that people would tell me. And so it shot down my self-esteem. It took a toll on my mental health. And so, like, I'm so thankful that God just did a work within me to where he brought me to a point to where, like, I'm now believing what he wrote about me, because I take scripture very personally. So he's not talking to the apostles. He's not talking to anyone else but me. And so it took a lot of inner work, and it took a lot of time with God for me to be like, you know what? Hey, like, this is how you accept feedback, and this is what's yours to take on your plate, and this is what's not for you to take on your plate. And so it really took me spending some detailed time with God for him to expose different areas where, hey, I need to take that, and different areas where I need to release that. Because we all know that, like, if people don't know the full version of you, I think that sometimes people think that they have a grasp of who you are just based on, like, little interactions that they have. But until someone has really spent true time with anyone, I don't think that they truly know them. You just know, like, just that one few moments or little piece of them that you've been able to see. And so I'm just thankful that God really exposed that to me, like, hey, everything is not yours to internalize and take, and, like, this is how you can now deal with all of the feedback, and this is how you can calm the noise, and this is how you can just focus on me and listen to my voice. If you really knew me, then you would know that I am a lover. I am someone who has a big heart. I also have an equally big personality. I'm someone who goes into a room, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to make a friend or two. I'm someone who works hard. I'm someone who takes pride in my career. I take pride in my friendships. I take pride in my family. And so I give every single one of those areas of my life attention, love, and care. My journey to being an open person, it took a lot. It took a lot of prayer and meditation with God. It took going to therapy. It took trial and error. Throughout my life, I can think of all of the different mistakes that I've made, all of the relationships that I probably didn't do the best with. And I think all of those mistakes really compounded to make me who I am now. It took facing who I am in the mirror and just accepting who I am for face value and learning to love who I am unapologetically. It also took spending some extra time with God. It took God exposing some things to me. It took him really doing a work within my life and exposing different areas where I needed to tighten up and do better. And I think all of those things really compounded to make me open. I feel like I live authentically now. And I want to say that's why, I'm not going to say I want to say, I know that's why. I think that's why I resonate so deeply with Pastor Sarah, is because she literally walks in who she is. It took a lot. I was bullied as a child. Even up into high school, I was criticized and ridiculed behind my natural hair. And that might come as a shocker to some, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're so confident. Like, there's no way you've experienced these things. Like, I've been called fat. I've been called ugly. I've been called nappy-headed. So, like, dealing with all of those things, I had to realize that, again, that's not mine to take. And sometimes it was projection. And hey, maybe my hair was a little nappy, but it's still beautiful. So it really took, like I said, that added time with God to just get comfortable with who I am. And so I feel like I do show up authentically. I was just telling my former manager, I was like, I can't turn my personality off. Sometimes I wish I could. Sometimes I wish I could be this person who crawls into a shell and who shrinks. Like, sometimes I really wish I could be that person and just exist. But when God calls you to do more than just exist, and when you know who he is and what he means to you and how he values you. And when I learned how God values me as a person, imperfect and all, that gave me the confidence to show up as my authentic self. So that's why I can even do something like this and talk to you today, because I have made peace with the fact that I am grossly imperfect, but God still loves me. My mental health has been on a roller coaster. I think mental health is something that should be at the forefront of everyone's mind, especially with us still coming out of a pandemic. There's rumors of us going back into another, so I'm really passionate about mental health. And so I was recently laid off from my dream job, and that caused my mental health to take a nosedive. So as a Christian, when there were rumors of layoffs happening, instantly I'm praying, I'm quoting scripture, I'm trying to build myself up in the word and build myself up in God. And so the one thing I didn't want to happen, it happened. Like, God allowed that thing to happen. And so as a result, my mental health started to decline. I was like, God, I believed in you wholeheartedly. I gave you 1,010%. I did not stop going to church before my layoff. I didn't stop going to church after my layoff. I was reading my Bible before. I still read my Bible now. So I'm just like, oh my God, I had all of this faith in you and still have faith in you. Don't want to negate it. The number one thing is, and I know this sounds cliche, but learn to trust God right now. Right now. Like, learn to trust God right now. Wholly, fully, completely. Master that right now. As a young lady, I had so many dreams and aspirations. I had this very ironclad timeline, and it was wonderful to have it because I felt like it was a motivation for me to work a little bit harder to achieve my goals. But it also didn't prepare me for what if God didn't answer the prayer that I was praying. So I think that if I could tell any young lady anything, is to learn to trust God literally right now. Learn it right now. Know that He is in control of everything. Know that anything He brings your way, He brought you to it because it was in His plan to bring you through it. But trust God. Trust God fully. Trust Him with everything, even the smallest thing. If it's passing a test, trust that He's going to give you the wherewithal to study. Trust that He is going to bring that information back to your remembrance as you do every single test. Trust Him to allow you to make it home every day. Trust Him with your love life. Trust Him with your career. Trust Him with even your dreams. Even your dreams. Like, I feel like sometimes we can get really bogged down with what's going on and our plans not going how we wanted them to. But learn to trust God even when the road doesn't go in the direction that you think the road should go in. My younger self today, girl, it's gonna be okay. It is going to be okay. I want to hug my younger self so bad because my younger self was filled with so much anxiety. My younger self was very worried. How is this going to come together? How am I going to piece together this plan? And I want to hug my younger self and tell her, girl, it's gonna be okay. It's going to be okay. God has a master plan for us, and even when we can't see it, even when we don't feel it, even when we don't know it, even when it doesn't feel like it, that God is still in control and that He has a master plan and that He didn't put us on this earth just to exist, and that if He brought it to you, He is definitely going to bring you through it. So when I look in the mirror, I definitely see someone who's full of life. I see someone who loves very hard. I see someone who has persevered. I see someone who's imperfect. I see someone who's still working on being worried and working on how to get through that. But I'm also seeing someone who's growing, someone who's accepting anything that has come their way, someone who is really striving to become the best version of themselves and to make the world a little bit greater because I existed. So I have a strength of connecting with others. And so with connecting with others, it's often like this, looking in a mirror. Sometimes I'm blown away when I'm talking to others because God is putting things in my mouth that I needed to hear. So I hear how I stutter sometimes, or how my thoughts are trying to process, and sometimes I hear the nervousness, but I understand that those imperfections are what make me human. And I feel like that's what I'm able to give to others, is just that honesty of, hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. And I see that you're imperfect, but you're trying. And so I think all of my little imperfections, like my speech and trying to make sure I'm saying things eloquently, like I know that all of those things that God has in his control, and that he's still going to make sure that whatever message he has to get across, it's going to get across. And so my imperfections are made perfect within him. To anyone who has like very ambitious career aspirations, like any young women who are out there, I'm still in the game right with you, who are wanting to like expand their skill sets, and they want to climb to all these new heights within their career. I recently made like a year and a half ago, I made a transition to my dream company. So I started out my career fresh out of college, and I was confused because I was like, God, I haven't been able to land a job within my career field, but then God gave me a really great job, but it wasn't within my direct career path. So I began to challenge God directly. God, I know you led me to this place, but how can I get to where I want to go? How can this plan still sync up, and how can I still get there? So after I worked that job for almost 4 years, and I hated it, but my obedience to God would not allow me to leave. He did not tell me to go, but when God tells you to go, oh my God, the path that is created for you, I can't even begin to speak on it. So I went from my very first job, worked it almost 4 years, and then I ended up transferring to a subsidiary, or basically a company underneath that company. And so after I made that transition to the company underneath the company, I was finally in my dream role. So while I was there, it was a completely new, well, not completely new, but pretty new territory, considering what I just came from. And I was like, God, I'm overwhelmed because I'm creating all of these things, and I know you've equipped me to do it, but I am overwhelmed. And then I'm the only African American face in the space. And so I was nervous, and so I was like, God, how can you help me to do what I need to do in this assignment? And God was with me. And so he made the path open to where I could go to my dream company. And so I worked at my dream company for a year and a half. I was doing excellent there. I was thriving. For the first time in my career, I actually loved all of my teammates. I loved all of the strategy that I got to touch. I loved getting up in the morning, and I went to the office when I didn't even have to. I was excited to be there, and I was excited for the lives that I was able to touch while I was in that role. And so while I'm basking in the joys of having my dream role and making impact and doing all of these wonderful things, there were rumors of layoffs. And so instantly I'm praying. I'm like, God, come on, not me. I love it here. I finally got it to this space. I'm finally where I want to be. I feel like I'm finally making strides that I feel like I should have been making right out of college, but you delayed me, and I'm here, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm thankful to be here. Don't do this. And God took that job away from me. And so it was one of the hardest things that I've gone through, and I'm currently still trying to find my next opportunity, and I'm still waiting on God to open that door. But when I say that I know God has something awesome in store for me, Come on. that God has something so great in store for me. So please, if you can hear anything that I've said today, please know that if God takes something from you, He's doing nothing but preparing you for something greater. Even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel like it, God is still doing it for you.